Hi everyone, Dimitri here, Pornography Addiction Recovery Coach. In this video I want to talk about escalation into the extremes and a fixation on a certain fantasy. It's possible that the reason why we consume pornography in the first place is because we are fixated on a fantasy that we want to fulfill. But this fantasy has so much shame and stigma associated to it that we do not dare indulging in this fantasy or taking the risk to be rejected to fulfill that fantasy. And so pornography offers an outlet to be able to witness that fantasy rather than fulfilling it. And that's why we get hooked onto pornography. And so the object of the fixation is not pornography. The object of the addiction is not so much pornography, but the fantasy itself. It can be a fetish. So a fetish typically would be an object or a body part that becomes compulsively attached with sexual arousal. You know, shoes, feet, belts, leather, hands, whatever it is. It can be a paraphilia. So a paraphilia would be a sexually deviant behavior. And what is sexually deviant? I mean, oral sex is sexually deviant, right? Sexual deviance is whatever that's not penis in vagina sex is deviant. But anything that tends to be a bit more extreme or you know, a bit more quirky or kinky becomes a paraphilia. What else could it be? Or it could be scenarios: a threesome, a foursome, pizza delivery, whatever it is. And so these fantasies, we want to enact these fantasies, but we cannot enact them. And so we find refuge in pornography to live these fantasies through the proxy of the characters that are in pornography. And so if that's the case, I feel like asking you, what's the blockage? What's preventing you from fulfilling these fantasies in real life? And do you think that if you fulfill these fantasies, you would be more detached from pornography? Is the object of addiction the fantasy and pornography is a medium? Or is the object of addiction really pornography and the whole universe it contains, not specifically through pornography, through a fantasy? And I was talking about escalation at the beginning of the video. It is very common as we consume more and more pornography to escalate into more and more niche content and more extreme content as well, or repressed content or shameful content. So we move more and more from the sexual norm. And again, I put quote unquote around all these terms. Sexual deviance, sexual norm doesn't mean much to me personally, as long as two people or however many people are consenting to do whatever it is that they want to do, then so be it. But it is definitely a pattern that there will be a progression towards the extremes, towards a narrower and narrower niche, and that niche content is going to be the fixation, the sexual fixation on which it's going to become our go-to fantasy, even to create arousal, to create orgasm, and whatnot. So I feel like asking you, is there such a fixation for you? Has it escalated into the extremes? You don't have to reply to these questions. It's just to make you progress on your journey, but you're obviously welcome to answer these questions in the comments if you feel so inclined and you feel to be vulnerable and strong enough at the same time to answer these questions publicly. But yes, do you feel you have an attachment to a fantasy or an attachment to pornography, and have you seen yourself escalate into more and more extreme content or more and more niche content, and what's a possible way out? Is it possible to enact these fantasies in real life, or is it not? Any comments appreciated? I wish you well.